Hello. All right. Welcome to Coach Schuman's online recruiting class. I see we got a couple of our people on here right now. I'm going to open the chat so we can ask questions as we go through this whole entire process. This is our second class. If you didn't get a chance to see the first class, I did send an email online about that, so you'll be able to see any of that information as well. So you'll be able to chat with me. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask any questions of me, and we could go through that process. Now, last week we covered some very important things on how to get recruited, some of the most important things on getting recruited, and we went through a bunch of stuff there. So if you get a chance to try and review that kind of stuff. Today we're going to cover some very important topics with respect to the NCAA and getting recruited. And I just want to make sure that the people that I have online today, I just want to make sure if you hit me up on the chat that you're able to hear me effectively and clearly. Please let me know. Just say yes if you do, and that will be great. I can really kind of get this part rolling. Good. Okay, just want to make sure. All right. James is good. All right, good. Okay, perfect. So, did everyone get a chance to, because I didn't see people online last week, did everyone get a chance to actually review last week's online class? I emailed it out to everybody. I hope you did. If you did, just let me know and say yes, and we'll move forward. Today, I'm going to speak specifically about some very important topics with respect to the NCAA, with respect to recruiting visits, all those kind of things which are real important. I'm going to jump right into it, and I'm going to go right into my desktop. But I want to make sure you understand the clearinghouse, how that goes about. We'll go through stuff online, just like I did last week. I'll literally go online, take you there to be able to help you understand those things, as well as you can see my son's toys over there, as well as be able to go through everything from recruiting, when you can be recruited, when you can go visit schools, all those kind of things. We cover as much as possible today on that, and then I'll recap that next week, and then we'll go to a lot of things with respect to camps and recruiting and the nitty-gritty of those kind of things. But today I'll touch on stuff like visits. I'll touch on the early signing period. I'll go through all that kind of stuff so you really get an overview, and then we'll get more specific as we get into next week. So I want to make sure I share here. Just then, I like to type things in so you could see, but we're going to start off obviously with the NCAA. That's something that you should be able to understand pretty quickly. What is the clearinghouse? Where can I find information? We'll go through that. How do I get official visits? What are junior days? What is dead period? When can the coaches contact me and contact them? What kind of contact is allowed? When can they visit me on campus? And what is an early signing period? And I'm going a little bit in depth on that. Okay, the NCAA is the organization that monitors and oversees. So monitors and oversees all of its member institutions. So this is really, really important to understand that every one of the rules that the NCAA has, it has to do with the institutions that are doing the recruiting on you, okay? And then your eligibility to go then participate in those institutions. So when you see BCS, FCS, those are NCAA schools. Division II and Division III, those are NCAA schools. And then you'll see programs that are NAIA. That's a completely different type of a governing body that has its own institutions. It has a Division I and Division II. Okay, all NAIA schools have scholarships, completely different member institutions. The ones you know about in the NCAA, obviously, like in Alabama or Rutgers or UConn or Texas, those are all part of the NCAA, okay? As well as Division II schools, Division III schools. Division III schools are a lot of your state colleges that play lower level football at Division III level, but you also have high academic institutions like schools like Amherst and Williams in the Northeast that are outstanding academic institutions at Division III. So it's important for you to make sure you understand who's in the NCAA. That's important. JUCOs, junior colleges, they are not in the NCAA. They're governed by their own JUCO associations. So it's important for you to understand those things. Okay. Why is the NCAA important? Because they establish all the rules and regulations that the member institutions can use. They meet all the time to be able to each year to year change those and tweak those rules, and they're a big oversight body on the athletes. Okay, what is a clearinghouse? I'm going to take you right into it right away. We'll go on Google, we'll find a clearinghouse. Okay, but a clearinghouse basically creates, I should say, the eligibility standards for the NCAA and its member institutions. Okay, so in order for an athlete must be cleared by the clearinghouse. Okay, so what's important about that? You have to go online. We're going to go right now to it. Go right to the NCAA clearinghouse. I'll share my screen with you so you'll be able to see all this. Let's make sure. Good. I just want to make sure everybody can see my screen. Just give me a yes if you can. So I go through this properly. Good. Okay, good. All right, we can. Good. Okay, so we go to clearinghouse, NCAA clearinghouse. Okay, now these are institutions that kind of go through all the basic clearinghouse information. Okay, so you can see here what is NCAA clearinghouse. Essential step becoming eligible to play college sports, over 180,000 potential. The first step is registering with the NCAA clearinghouse. You must register as a high school student. You can do it as soon as you come into high school. You can go ahead and start to understand it, but they recommend you doing it by your junior year. But you could, start as soon as you start getting recruited. You can go and put that in. You can put your transcripts. You can put your test scores in there. Okay, you could answer all the questions as far as from an amateur status standpoint. So let's go back and understand this. Okay, this is the NCAA's eligibility standard. You can create a login that will allow you, create a login that will allow you to go through the whole entire clearinghouse process. Okay, now what's important is, let's go to the clearinghouse, because this is not the clearinghouse here. Let me just go to the clearinghouse. Okay. High schools register themselves within that clearinghouse. When you actually go into the actual clearinghouse, okay, each high school is registered separately. Then you go into the actual clearinghouse. Once you actually go, that's not where I want to go. Let me just find where the clearinghouse is here for you. Here we go. Okay. So this page right here, and you could just you should screenshot this if I were you, so you can go ahead and get to your login. This is for athletes. Oh, sorry, that's NCSA. I'll tell you, let me go back to the eligibility center here. The NCSA does a nice job of getting you in there. Let's go back. Okay, before we go any further, I want to just you should download these immediately. Okay, go to this site and to download this immediately. This actually has the college bound student athlete guide. So where you go to the clearinghouse in the eligibility center where we were before, okay, this is where you'll go and log in. You'll be able to go and find the schools that you're interested in. You'll be able to do your actual clearinghouse. Now, step forward. college-bound guide to the student athlete. Okay, when student athletes register, they put themselves into the clearinghouse, they log in. You'll be able to do all the information and standards. Here's the eligibility standards for the different levels. I'll go through that in a second. What I do want to make sure you understand is the core classes. We'll go through that, okay, and then how to register. Basically, the real simple things, you click here and you'll go through the steps. You'll see the student athlete registration where you can log in here. Okay, the most important thing is for you to understand the reference sheets. So this guide right here, the guide to the student bound athlete, you have to download this. This is the most important thing. Go in there, just download it. Okay, this has everything you need to know from the NCAA Eligibility Center from a clearinghouse standpoint. It will go into everything, and I'll go back to this in a second. Okay. Okay. It has all the different eligibility standards. This guide will have you many of the things that you have here. So playing Division I sports, it'll go through the eligibility here, what you need to be able to do, eligibilitycenter.org. Okay, from NCAA core classes standpoint, all of your Division I academic eligibility standards, what you do if you don't meet those requirements. So here's some of the most important things. So for Division I, you've got to complete 16 core courses. Okay. This is a listing of all the classes that you need to take. You have to have English 1 through 4, okay, American Literature, Creative, Algebra 1 3. You can read all the stuff. It's important to have all this. You will file this when you go through the student athlete registration. You will file all of those classes in your actual registration, okay? It's important to understand what counts and what doesn't count. So your guidance counts could usually help you with that. Division II standards, okay? They're slightly different. Division II standards are slightly different, so you'll see. Okay, from a GPA standpoint, you need to have a 2.2 in your core classes for Division II academic eligibility. Okay, that is different than the sliding scale that you have at Division I. So it's important to understand those things. Eligibilitycenter.org, you can go and register. Okay, let's go real quick back to the guide. Okay, you must get your hands on this. Important things for you to understand. Let's go right to page 11. We kind of skip around a little bit so we help you understand. This is the core classes for Division I standards. Okay, this is the most important thing you need to understand from an eligibility standpoint in order to get recruited. So, Division I qualifying standard, okay, this maps out for you what your core GPA has to be, your SAT. So you can see a sliding scale here, okay, from a full qualifier standpoint. If you have a 3.55 GPA, you could have as low as a 400 on the SATs, okay, between actually math and reading. And a summary of a 37 on the ECTs, which is exceptionally low. You can see it's a sliding scale, and it pushes all the way up based off of what your GPA is. And you can see at the bottom here, 2.77. The last qualifying full-scale qualifier is 2.3 and 900. So 2.3 on your GPA and your core GPA. Okay, it doesn't count some of the classes like woodshop and those kind of things. Okay, so 900 SAT, you need such a much higher score. In order to be a academic redshirt qualifier, which means you have to redshirt your first year from an academic standpoint, you have to have a 1020 if you have a 2.0. So they're trying to reward athletes that have higher GPAs. You can see that it changes dramatically. This is Division II. You can see that Division II, the standards are much, much lower in order for you to be a qualifier from that standpoint. Okay, this is the other thing I want to show you real quick, the worksheet. So this worksheet can help you figure out what your scores are, okay? So it takes the credits that you have multiplied by the grade. So an A counts as 4, B counts as 3, and that gives you your quality points, okay? You want to be able to add those up. You get your quality points. You get your core course GPA. You can do the same thing for Division II. Okay, those are real important. The next thing is SAT, ACT dates. Now, we're in 2018, so you'll soon be having the 2018-19 one. But you can see for 2018, SAT and ACT dates. The May 5th one is right upon us this week, and June 2nd is right upon us. So you want to make sure that you go and register ACT. You have your July date and your June date. You want to go ahead and register, especially if you're going to be a senior coming up from ACT and SAT standpoint. Okay. I want to cover this. This is very important, the recruiting calendar. Okay, so I'm just going to flip quickly back. To my screen. So we covered Clearinghouse. Where could I find the Info Eligibility Center? .org, or you can just go to the NCAA, type it into Google, and type Clearinghouse. Okay. Official visits we don't have to worry about right now. Junior days, I'm going to talk about a bunch of these things right now. No, we don't need any of that stuff. We'll talk about some of this stuff right now here. So we go to recruiting calendars. Okay, so recruiting calendars. This is important to understand. This is what, from a recruiting standpoint, they can do with you. Now, we're in football here, so we have a little bit different rules. Okay, so we want to go right over here in football. Okay, so starting sophomore year, and you could start receiving any brochures. I mean, whenever they start recruiting you, they can start sending out those brochures sophomore year. You can make calls to the coach at your expense. College coach cannot call you. Off-campus contact, not allowed. Official visit, not allowed. Unofficial visit, you may go there as many times you want. So that's an important thing. When you see guys want to go to junior days that are underclassmen, they want you to come on their campus. You can reach out to them as much as you want. They cannot at that age reach out to you. Okay, junior year, you could be receiving electronic correspondence starting September 1. So electronic correspondence means email. Correspondence must be private between you and coach until you provide a written commitment to school. You may begin receiving September 1 of your junior year recruiting materials. You may make calls at your own expense. One call, coaches call you from April 15th to May 31st. I'll talk about that in a second. Additional calls may be made before September 1 of your senior year. That means in the summer. They cannot start giving you additional calls until September 1, which signals your senior year. Now, what's important, April 15th to May 31 is their most important evaluation period in the spring. It's the spring evaluation period. A lot of times they'll come and see athletes working out, and quote unquote, you're not supposed to be doing those things, but it gets done. Okay, and so I understand coaches are going to come in, they're going to look at the athletes, they're going to see them move, they might see them work out and lift. April 15th, May 31, they may come to your track meet. They may come visit you on campus and go and talk to you. They cannot talk to sophomores. They can bump into them accidentally, but they cannot talk to sophomores. But juniors, they 100% can talk to. Okay. Official visit, allowed April 1 of your junior year through the Sunday before the last Wednesday. That is important because a lot of that has to do with now the early signing period. You may take unlimited number unofficial visits, except during the dead period. And dead period is just a specific period where there's no contact allowed from college coaches. Okay, senior year, basically, they're going to be able to contact you, reach out to you as much as they want. Almost unlimited wise, after you sign an NLA, which is National Letter of Intent, written offer. They can talk to you as much as possible. During the contact period, they can talk to you as much as they want. That's when you see senior year guys are really calling and camping out with them every single day. Off-campus contact beginning July 1 prior to your senior year, they could start having regular contact with you. Official visits, Okay, allowed beginning opening day of your senior year. You may make only one official visit per college, up to 5 official visits. There is no limit of official visits to Division II colleges, but 5 at the Division I level. Okay, official visit means that they're basically paying for all of your expenses. Okay, they're paying for your expenses, they're paying for your overnight, they're paying for your meals. Unofficial visit, what we talked about, is when you're paying for your own way to get there. You can go there as much as you want, except for a dead period. So that's how you see someone be at a campus all the time at a game. Those are unofficial visits that they're making. How often can a coach come and see you? So they can make 2 evaluations, April 15th and May 31st. This is very important. 2 actual evaluations. Once to evaluate athletically, once to evaluate academic qualifications. What does that mean? They can see them work out, okay? They can see them work out, and that's what you see when you see all these athletes working out for coaches. Unlimited number of contacts and evaluation after you sign an LLA, written offer of omission, so on and so forth, okay? 1 evaluation during September, October, and November. That means they can come to your games, okay? This means they can come to your games. College coach may contact you or your parents, legal guardians, off college campus 6 times. That's nothing major there. Okay, Division II, there's slightly different rules. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but there's a lot more leeway with Division II and Division III. So you should read this, but there's a lot more leeway. Okay, you can only make 1 official visit per college campus, no matter where that is, but you can make as many of those official visits as you want. Okay, that's the interesting thing in Division II and Division III. You don't have 5. You can go as many places as you want. Okay. All right, so those are some of the most important things. It's important to understand what National Letter of Intent is. Okay, National Letter of Intent means that you're signing to go to that school. It's a binding agreement between you and the school. They're going to be offering financial aid to you, and then you're going to be going to that school because signing that financial aid. Okay, it's for Division I and Division II. Scholarship athletes, you have to sign a letter of intent. Okay, let's see if there's anything I missed here that I'd say is real important. I went over what the core classes are, just so you know. Okay. Sliding scale, number of classes, ACT, SAT. I like this. Like, you got your checklist here, so you make sure you check off those things. Make sure you download this. Okay. So that's real important. All right. Let's go. Where can I find info? We got that covered. How do I get official visits? All right. So we're gonna stop the share here for a second. I'm gonna talk a little bit about official visits. Official visits, like we said, there are 5 official visits at Division I level, Division II, and Division III. You can have a limited number of visits. Here's what's really important about that. 99% of the time, official visits come when you have an offer. If you have an offer from a school, more than likely, this is at Division I level, they will then invite you for an official visit in your senior year. Okay, because of the early signing period, you have people that are going to want to take official visits in the season, which is rough. Not a big fan of some of that stuff, but it is what it is. You can take official visits all the way up to National Letter of Intent Day, and you can take 5 visits. So if you go and visit Rutgers, UConn, Alabama, Notre Dame, and USC, those are your 5 visits. You can't go visit a 6th school, let's say Oregon. You want to choose those visits wisely. At Division II and Division III level, and let me backtrack. Division I includes FCS, so BCS, which is like the schools I mentioned, and FCS, which would be schools like from the Colonial Athletic Conference, like Maine, New Hampshire, William & Mary, North Dakota State, South Dakota. Those schools are FCS schools, and they have less scholarships, but the 5 rules apply. So if you took 1 visit to an FCS school and 4 others Division I schools, that's 5 total visits. At Division II level, it's completely different. You can take as many visits as you want, and you go there as often as you want, okay, on an official visit. Only one, though, per school. You can't go, if you're going there a second or third time, it has to be an unofficial visit in order to do that. How do you get official visits? Offers is usually the key to getting official visits. Almost everybody who was offered is going to be offered an official visit in most cases, unless that scholarship is now gone. So it's important for you to understand that from an eligibility standpoint, you have 5 official visits. You must take those visits usually within in your senior year. And a lot of times college coaches are going to, ask you to commit on those visits. So it's something that you have to be aware of. We'll talk more about that in the next lesson. But it's important for you to understand that you have 5 actual official visits. Okay, let's go back to the share here. Talk about how do you get official visits. Offers at D1 dictate this, usually. They do offer visits to potential preferred walk-ons. It does happen. Okay, Division 2, Division 3, you can go 1 per school, as many as you want. Okay, let's move on. Junior days. Okay, junior days. Junior days are basically when you come on campus as an unofficial visit where coaches want to come and meet with you. This is not an official visit. They'll invite like somewhere between, 30 and 100 athletes, sometimes more, on a junior day. Okay, you could be an underclassman and go there. You could be an upperclassman, but junior days are unofficial visits to a college campus. They're an unofficial visit. So when you get invited to a junior day, here's kind of an interesting thing. If you're interested in going to school and they're really not actively recruiting you, they could discourage you from coming, but they can't actually say no, because the NCAA rule means that they have to be able to, someone wants to go and visit them, but they try to gear it towards just certain players, so they won't put the word out there. But if you actually ask to go, in most cases you have to go. Every college will have a junior day that's at Division I or BCS or FCS level. Division II and Division III, they'll have those. They might have them associated with their spring games or any spring practices, any of those kind of things. Dead period. That means that no contact or visit or off campus is allowed. These are usually just done to protect the coaches so they don't have to recruit during those time periods. Those are dead periods where they might be coaching. There are certain periods throughout the year where there are dead periods. So it's important to know those dead periods. That student guide will have that for you. When can coaches contact me and me contact them? So we went through that. So let's go right back through that again. Okay. All right. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a second. Let me get my NCAA guide here. All right. Now we want to know, when can college coaches contact me and me contact them? If you remember, I went through a sheet that has all of the contact information of when they can contact you and when you can contact them. Okay, I'll go through that here. Somehow I figured out, but did I fly past it here? Let's see, where was it? It was. There we go. Calendar, sorry. I don't know how I missed it. Okay. So, like we talked about before, when can they contact you and you contact them? Just go right to the recruiting calendar and you'll see when you can receive brochures and when they can actually make contact with you. Important things to understand is that they really can't call you, and there's a couple times in your junior year, but they really can't make calls to you until your senior year. That's when it begins to really grow. They have 2 evaluation periods in your junior year that they can see you work out one and then get academic info in another. And then the third most important thing is that you can contact them via phone and sending them information and email as much as possible. And I encourage athletes to call the schools that you're interested in, talk to the positional coaches. That's a key aspect to the recruiting process. You can't just send emails out without any info and hope that you're going to get recruited. Okay, so it's important to be able to do that, to pick your schools. Last week we talked about making a list, okay, and understanding that. So go refer to that student athlete guide. What contact is allowed? We've already discussed that. How do I get invited to games on campus? So games on campus would be like spring ball and in-season games. Most of these guys that get invited are guys that they are interested in recruiting, usually seniors, juniors, they could be sophomores. Again, these are unofficial visits on campus. Unofficial visits, because it's at your expense. Okay? Call up if there's a school that you're interested in going visiting. Go and watch their game. Have your coach call up, or you call up and see if they'll be willing to give you tickets. Usually you get tickets to the game, especially if it's in season. And those will be, we'll call tickets specifically for the student athletes. It's going to be athletes that they're usually recruiting. So you call up, see if there's a game you want to go, especially if you have offers there, and you call up and see if you can get on campus to go and buy the game. This is a great way to make contact with the coaches and the program. Once you're on their campus, you can go and as long as you're not paying for anything, you can go over there and meet with them. Okay. When can they visit me on campus? We talked about this. April 15th to May 31st is the eval period for juniors. Okay, they can do 1 athletic eval and 1 academic junior year. Senior year, they can come and watch you several times. Okay, that's in the fall. Okay, so you can watch you several times. I think it's 3 to 4 times, actually up to 6 times that you can go and watch them. Okay, so that's important for you to understand, that they can go and watch you, visit you on campus. They could come to your campus and see you when you're a sophomore, but they cannot talk to you. Now, like I said, they might bump into you, but they can't really have a conversation with you, okay? All right, early signing period. Great, now let's pull up some stuff on this. Football, early signing period, very easy. All you gotta use is Google for half the stuff and it will be real easy. Okay, so let's look at the National Letter of Intent dates. All right, this was this past year. Let's see if we got some future ones coming up here. Okay. All right, football. This is important for you to understand. Early period for Division I, December 19th, 2018, closes out December 21st, 2018. This is the time period that you could sign your letter of intent. This is the early signing period. Once you sign there, you're done. That's where you're going. Okay, for a mid-year JC transfer, so someone's transferring from a junior college into a Division I program, December 19th to January 15th. That's when they can sign. They have a little bit more of a window. The regular signing period, first Wednesday in February 6th, okay, to April 1st. This is the time period where you have to sign your national letter of intent. This is important for everybody to understand. We'll highlight this for you. Okay, there you go. There you go. Oh man. Well, you know, we'll leave it as is. We'll just bring this out here. And you got copies. Okay, so this is the actual signing period. So you have what this actual signing period is. So you know. Okay. Very important that you know the signing dates and signing periods. Covering all of these aspects are critical for helping you. So let's cover and go through the most important things that we covered today. Okay. Let's go to the whiteboard. All right, on this whiteboard, we're going to cover some most important things. Okay, NCAA clearinghouse. You must get on there. Must get on, fill out information, and register. Okay. Next thing you have to know is the contact periods for underclassmen and juniors. You need to know the same thing for seniors as well. You need to get the student athlete guide. So it's college bound. Student athlete guide or guide to the student athlete, same thing. This has all the eligibility dates. You need to know the sliding scale, okay, of eligibility. Very important. You need to know what core classes you must have, 16 core classes for D1 and D2. You need to know what those core classes are. Okay, you need to know what the signing periods are. Official visits. And unofficial visits. What those are, okay? And you must know the evaluation periods, okay, when those things are as well. Then we also, obviously, we covered some really important things with respect to, let me just stop the share. We covered some really important things with respect to unofficial visits, official visits, junior days, okay? Technically, anybody can go to junior day. If you want to go to a game, if you're a recruited athlete, they'll invite you to a game. You get tickets to a game. That's another opportunity to go and meet with college coaches, no matter what level it is. Those are important things for you to understand, okay? The core classes, the sliding scale, it's important for you to really have that. I would put it on my board, on my wall, so I have a good idea of what things that I need to cover. Same thing with my core classes, to be able to understand that. Okay, for the last few minutes here, because this was a big NCAA visit, I want to answer any questions, because then I'm going to wrap up with a couple of things that I think are real important. But if you have any questions related to the first session, which I did last time, which you guys should have watched, or the second session today, feel free to ask me any questions that you might have, and I'll be glad to answer them for you. You could chat any of those questions that you want. Any questions? If you have any questions on what we covered here today. Okay, good. So as I wrap up here, what's really important is I'm going to cover a couple things. So we covered all the stuff with respect to the NCAA. I want to give you some real important things that you should do with respect to reaching out to college coaches. Let me get this pulled up here. Okay, this is what I would do from an email standpoint if I was a high school athlete. I'm going to use, and I went through this a little bit last time. Okay. First thing I go is list of Division I football colleges. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, Wikipedia should have this for you. Good. This is BCS schools. This is FCS schools. This is what I would do. So simple and so easy. Okay. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and I'm having a hard time doing it with program here. Okay, good. Here we go. We'll have this on here. I would take this Division I, and then I would go to my Google Sheets. Google, let's see here, my Google Drive. I would make things easy for myself. And I would go right on Google Sheets. I'm going to show you exactly what you do here. Show you exactly what you do. You're going to put the schools that you're interested in. I'm just using Division I as an example. You don't need this. We don't need this. I mean, I guess if you want to have this stuff in here, you can. Here's what you should put, okay? Head coach, offensive coordinator. If you need a defensive coordinator or position coach, depending on what you play. Okay, then you got email. Undo. Email. And you get the idea. Email. Okay? Coordinate tour. Phone. If there's a general number, you may have to get to those people. Okay? You want to put that number in there, and you have your list. Then you have your notes and when contacted. So you have your own little spreadsheet of each school that you contacted, okay? And then you go in and you type in Air Force football staff. Good, staff directory for the Air Force. Can't get any simpler than that, okay? Let's find football. Boom, 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 football. Perfect. His email address right here, I copy the email address. Okay. This takes a little time, but once you have this done, you're done. Okay. Here's the phone number. They have a specific phone number for each guy. So if you want to do this in here, okay, phone. Okay, head coach Troy Calhoun. Boom. Do this at least for head coach, either offensive defense coordinator for position and position coach. And then you would say, if you contacted, spoke with Coach Calhoun, invited me for junior day. Okay, and then you have the date you contacted, May 2nd, 2018. Okay. So every time you reach out to them, you kind of you start to get a running spreadsheet of who you contacted, when you contacted. You can add more notes to your sheet, and then you can even create columns like this: offer, interest level, and so on, okay? So you can start to see what you have, and you build the programs that are most interested in you. Okay, James had a great question. What time do you think would be best for us to call college coaches? Should I try calling them during the week? Great question. Wednesday night is most college coaches' recruiting night. That's the best time to call them, after 7 p.m. Wednesday night is the best day of the week to call college coaches. Wednesday night is the best. Sunday's not going to be a good night. Generally, any day during the week you could call, but I would Wednesday, Tuesday is probably a pretty decent day. But Wednesday's a recruiting night for most schools, where they're banging out their phone calls. That's a great night to go and reach out to. I hope this kind of spreadsheet thing helps you out, and you put college coaches contact. Okay, and you can go ahead and really keep track of who's interested in you, where you've went to visit, did you visit them, and you can track everything so you're not guessing as to the schools that might be most interested in you. That's the most important thing. You don't want to be in a position that this thing right here, you don't know that none of these schools are interested in you. Keep banging your head against these schools and none of them are interested. You want to go and focus on, maybe now you start adding Division II schools to the list, Division III schools to the list, and you have this list of college programs that you're contacting on a regular basis. You definitely should call them. You definitely should email them. If you can tweet at them, I highly recommend that as well. If you can get the opportunity to DM them in there, or even just message them what's the best email to work. But you can find this information as easily as I found. Okay, and last week I showed you how to find people's emails who may not be showing their email. All right, any other questions that I can answer for anybody before we wrap it up today? All right, I hope the first 2 sessions have been really helpful. We covered how to get recruited in the first one. Today we covered the NCAA, a lot of the rules as far as recruiting goes, so you can help to get a little bit of understanding of the recruiting process. Not quite as sexy and as exciting as it was last week with the process of getting recruited. Next week we're going to dive in depth of how to conduct yourself on junior days, what kind of questions you want to ask the college coaches, what kind of information you need to give them. We're going to dive into all of that stuff for you next week so you can really have a leg up. Let's see. Yeah, this is another great question, and I do want to. I'll definitely ask this question. If you get an automated email, any kind of correspondence you get, I believe that if it's a school that you're interested in, you should definitely respond back to them. An automated email that invites you to a college camp, I don't know if that's what I would constitute that as interest. Because they cannot contact you up until your junior year, if you're earlier than that, they may be interested in you. A lot of times what I would do is have your high school coach reach out to that college coach on your behalf. They can reach out to them and find out if there's going to be interest. A lot of early offers come through the high school coach because they can't have that communication with the athlete. So it could mean interest, it may not mean interest. It really depends. But I would respond to it with your information, and then give them your high school coach's info. And if they do have an interest, they will reach out to your high school coach. I get reached out to all the time on guys that coaches have an interest in from information that I send out on my athletes. All right, if there's any more questions, you got literally 10 seconds to get them out. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then next time we'll go any more questions. I love answering questions because it helps you get to where you need to be. Don't be shy when you come on here and asking questions. If anybody has any other questions, you can certainly email it to me as well. But as far as from these events and how to get recruited and where to be, understanding that student athlete, the college bound guide to the student athlete, you got to get your hands on that, print it out. You want to have that saved as a PDF and review that first video because it'll help you understand how to get recruited. Next week we'll go in depth. I thank you guys for being on. I hope this was very helpful. My goal is to help you get an understanding, get a leg up in the recruiting process, because the more information you have, the better off you're going to be when you're going to get recruited, finding the right fit in the right school for you. Thank you guys, and have a great day, and I'll see you next week.